to the rail yards of Omaha, to the diamond mines of Sierra Leone, and most terrifying of all, the bleachers of Fenway Park. Along the way, Zack has interviewed luminaries from all walks of life, including 50 Cent, Bruno Mars, Akon, Russell Simmons, Steve Wozniak, African Bambaataa, Natasha Bedingfield, Justin Bieber, by accident, Swizz, Beats, Lil Jon, Fab Five, Freddie, Dr. Ruth, and Mr. T, as well as a host of non-famous mutual fund managers, musicians, CEOs, and billionaires. Zack's first book, a business-focused biography of Jay-Z entitled Empire State of Mind, was published by Penguin Portfolio Press in March of 2011. Aside from the book and Forbes, Zack has written for The Washington Post, Sports Illustrated, McSweeney's Internet Tendency, AOL Huffington Post, Dance Papers, and others. He has also served as an expert source for BBC, Bloomberg, CNBC, Reuters, MTV, Entertainment Tonight, Good Day New York, and other print, web, radio, and video outlets. Zack has appeared as a guest speaker at Yale College, Harvard Business School, Howard University, Berklee College of Music, Europe Boston, and Georgetown University. And by the way, he's a graduate of Hastings High School. It's my pleasure to call up to the microphone Mr. Zack O'Malley Greenburg.
Thanks so much, Lou, for the kind introduction. It wasn't very long ago that I was on the other side of this podium about to graduate from Hastings High School. I remember it very clearly that, like today, it was extremely hot out, and I was wearing a very itchy robe that did not make me any cooler. The main difference for me is that last time I was scared out of my mind. So why was I scared exactly? I'd gotten into a college that I really liked, all my friends were going to be in Hastings all summer long, and my dad had given up on trying to make me get a job for the 6 weeks that I actually had off. Well, I was scared because I'd come to Hastings as a new kid during my freshman year, and now that I felt totally ensconced, finally, I was about to start all over again. I knew Hastings had given me a lot, but I didn't know quite how much, and I certainly had no clue that some of the things that seemed trivial at the time would end up being really important to me in the end. For instance, that the affinity for hip-hop I picked up in Hastings would lead me to a job writing about rappers and all kinds of entrepreneurs for Forbes, which in turn would lead me to write a book about Jay-Z. It's called Empire State of Mind, by the way, and I hear it makes a great graduation gift. But let me back up a bit. At my elementary school in Manhattan, I entered first grade halfway through the year, and the new kid label didn't wear off until the end of middle school. By the time I'd finally established myself, I was leaving for high school. On my first day at Hastings High, I asked a fellow freshman how many new kids usually joined our class every year. 2 or 3 tops was the reply. To make matters worse, I had never been to Frost Valley, I didn't know where or what Hillside was, and I thought the 13-year club was something for cicadas. I was convinced that once again, I would be indefinitely stuck as the new kid. Within a few weeks, it became clear to me that Hastings was a different kind of place. People welcomed me immediately, and I began to create my own memories. By the beginning of sophomore year, I could already reminisce with my friends about Mr. Conweiser's Africa Plate lesson. I found myself wistfully recalling the day when Hurricane Floyd turned the Sawmill River Parkway into a high-speed kayak lane. And I even spent a summer month driving across the country in a van with Mr. Brownstein and a bunch of my classmates as part of the first ever geology trip. Anyone else been on the geology trip? Yeah. But the soundtrack to my entire high school experience was rap. I went to Hastings High from 1999 to 2003, which some of you may recall was the height of a hip-hop crew known as the Rough Riders, based in Yonkers. I'm talking about Styles P, Chic Luch, Jada Kiss, Swizz Beatz, and DMX. My friends and I were obsessed. We came up with equally ridiculous nicknames for ourselves, like Chops and Boff and Shivs and Moon and Boo and Perp and Weech and Zog. We'd blast DMX's Rough Riders anthem on boomboxes strapped to bicycles as we rode up and down the aqueduct. And when out-of-towners asked where we were from, we'd say, North Yonkers. It was very extreme. Though all this was quite a hoot, it never occurred to me that it would ever influence my career path. Flash forward to 2007. My buddies and I were fresh out of college, and most of them had landed jobs as iBankers or consultants, where it seemed they'd never benefit from their knowledge of hip-hop. It appeared to be the same for me. I started as a reporter at Forbes, writing stories about stocks and bonds and taxes. But one day an editor dropped by my cubicle and asked if I liked hip-hop. Yeah. Would I be interested in helping her launch a special package on the top-earning artists? Yeah. And I could rap DMX's It's Dark and Hell is Hot all the way through if she really wanted me to. We ended up calling the package Hip-Hop Cash Kings, with Jay-Z, 50 Cent, and Diddy as the top 3 kings that year. Imagine my surprise when these 3 giants of rap unleashed a collaboration called I Get Money, the Forbes 1, 2, 3 remix, complete with shout-outs to Forbes.com. Soon the song was burning up the airwaves and Cash Kings became an annual event. Better yet, I'd cemented myself as the hip-hop guy at Forbes, whatever that meant. A few months later, the editor I worked on the Cash Kings project with departed for another job. She left me in charge of the package going forward. Since then, I've interviewed and written business-focused profiles on musicians including 50 Cent, Akon, Alicia Keys, Wiz Khalifa, John Bon Jovi, and Justin Bieber, who my first interaction actually was by accident. Subsequently, I wrote a more well-thought-out piece about him and how he's becoming a venture capitalist. And then just this week, I interviewed LL Cool J, Ludacris, and somewhat improbably Mark Teixeira. But my fondest memories thus far have been writing about the mainstays of my Hastings youth. The first came in 2008 when I interviewed Swizz Beatz, the brains behind DMX's Rough Riders anthem. Though he penned that song nearly a decade earlier at age 16, Swizz was just getting mainstream recognition when I met up with him 5 years ago, thanks to a solo album, a ton of production credits from Jay-Z, and a budding romance with Alicia Keys. I think he was trying to impress me with his moguldom. He picked me up in his chauffeured Maybach. Yes, the roof was translucent. And we cruised around all day as I interviewed him. He kept an unopened $500 bottle of Armand de Brignac Ace of Spades champagne in the cup holder and a wad of $100 bills in the armrest. He insisted on taking me to a meeting he was having with Tommy Hilfiger, not the company, but the guy. At the end of the night, he asked if I wanted to go to the Pharrell Williams video shoot with him, and of course I said yes. Soon we were on our way. But just as we were pulling up, he got a phone call. And he picks up and he goes, "Yeah, what? An Uzi? 10 people dead?" I started freaking out. I was like, "We have to get out of here. What should we do?" And then his face erupted into a grin. Just playing." So even after a day with Swizz, though, I realized I was still missing something for the story, an interview with his mentor, the one and only DMX. I also realized this might be the last time I'd have a legitimate excuse to talk to the rapper, or at least the last time before he got locked up again, as he'd involved in a series of increasingly bizarre run-ins with the law. According to Wikipedia, he'd been arrested at JFK Airport on charges of cocaine possession, criminal impersonation, criminal possession of a weapon, criminal mischief, menacing, driving under the influence of drugs or alcohol while barking and claiming to be a federal agent, and attempting to carjack a vehicle. Whatever, this was going to happen. I got DMX's info from Swizz. I was supposed to call someone named Poe who'd connect me to DMX. I nervously placed the call, and Poe answered. "Hi, Poe, this is Zack Greenburg from Forbes magazine. Can I talk to Mr. DMX? He seemed puzzled and talked to somebody in the background, but I couldn't really hear what they were saying because it was blurred by loud music. Then, "Hello?" It was unmistakably DMX. "Hi, Mr. DMX. This is Zack Greenburg at Forbes. I'm writing a story about Swizz Beatz, and I just wanted to ask you about your friendship with him and how you got to know him in the first place." Long pause. "We dogs for life, yo." Okay, well, could you give me like a little more information on sort of your mentor-mentee relationship and how, the two of your relationship has evolved over time? Then, more emphatically, "We dogs for life, yo." Not good. "Okay, well, could you tell me a little bit more about what sets Swizz apart from other producers musically?" Another long pause. When it's bouncing, you know it's Swizzy. Then he informed me that he was in the mix and would have to be going. We bid each other farewell, and that was the last I've heard from him. As far as I know, he's still in the mix somewhere. So where am I going with all this? Well, first of all, Hastings was instrumental in launching me into the world of music journalism, specifically hip-hop, and not just because of its proximity to Yonkers. I remember learning the ins and outs of general reporting from my days on the staff at the Buzzer with Mr. Marciano and Mr. Abrams. I recall refining my skills as a journalist in Mr. Abrams' journalism class, from the structure of the inverted pyramid to the intricacies of writing about food. All the while, I honed my writing abilities in English classes with Mr. Blum, Mrs. Emery, Dr. Mahoney, and Mrs. Rice. Perhaps even more importantly, my experience as a new kid in Hastings gave me the confidence to go into a situation as a total outsider, to just be myself and assume that good things would happen. In a way, the hip-hop world was an exclusive group just like the 13-Year Club. But that didn't faze me. After all, my high school classmates had accepted me even though I was an outsider. Why wouldn't Swiss Beats and DMX do the same? Hastings, as it turns out, has a long history of accepting outsiders, even controversial ones. There are 44 former Confederate soldiers buried in the Mount Hope Cemetery. They did not die in battle, nor were they prisoners of war. After the Civil War, these soldiers voluntarily moved north to Hastings with their families in order to avoid the turmoil and poverty of the post-war South. Hastings is the only place north of the Mason-Dixon line to house such a burial site. A century later, Hastings welcomed Julius and Ethel Rosenberg's children shortly after their parents were executed for conspiracy to commit espionage at the height of the Cold War. Though the boys adopted the surname Meeropol after their adopted father, their lineage was widely known, yet they were accepted by the community and all graduated from Hastings High School like any other students. So as all of you join me, the Meeropols, and Ricky Lake among the ranks of Hastings High School's graduates, I'd like to leave you with a few parting words. I was told you wanted to hear stories about rappers, and I hope I've satisfied you, but I wouldn't feel right without trying to give you a few concrete pieces of advice. So, in no particular order, do what you love, and you'll never work a day in your life. I borrowed that one from my dad, but it bears repeating, and I can tell you firsthand that it's true. Success isn't about being at the right place at the right time. It's about putting yourself in the right place so that you'll be there when the right time comes along. I learned that one from my mom and from my experience getting a book deal. Whatever it is that you're writing, rewrite and rewrite and rewrite until you're blue in the face. I learned this from my stepmother, and without it, I probably wouldn't have a job today at all. Some financial advice. Start saving for retirement now. Pensions probably won't exist in 50 years, and Social Security might not either. Your future is going to be up to you, so get started soon. If you get a credit card, always pay out the balance every month. Otherwise, you'll get slapped with interest and fees, thereby giving your money away to American Express and Visa and MasterCard, and believe me, as a business journalist, they do not need any more. Become an expert at something. If you can do that, starting now, the odds are good that you'll be able to parlay it into a profession down the line. Tequila shots are never a good idea. And finally, next year, remember that you're going to be the new kid. Maybe like me, you've gotten used to it. Or maybe you're a member of the 13-Year Club. But you know what? Next year, everyone is going to be the new kid. Just be yourself and trust that people will accept you for who you are like they do in Hastings, and if not, to hell with them. If it worked for me with Swiss Beats and DMX, I know it'll work for you. Good luck and congratulations. Thank you.
Yay!